hope you're all doing well. I wanted to jump on. I was just sort of like getting some messages here coming through, and literally sleeping cycle has been so off here. I mean, really, if we really say it, since the full moon in Virgo, which is natural, but beyond that, in this shift from the sun into Aries, you know, it may be that you're finding the sleeping rhythms are a little strange, a little off. But anyways, we're just different. Just getting here a few messages, you know, as we move into this cycle of a strong Aries season, and I wanted to chat a bit about what is going down here, because it's important to note, first of all, that we have a very strong Aries energy right now, given that we have, right, this again, sun going in to Aries, but we still have a lot of Pisces, right, in the chart, and it's not just it's not just Aries. It's not just the sun. It's the Neptune and the Jupiter, which are still very much at play, right? Being in Pisces, its natural ruling sign. So it's important to know, and I'm hearing it interestingly as a sort of point of maybe tension, where you may find, you know, on some level, people are feeling stimulated. With this strong Aries energy, right, we see the archetype of the first house. We see Mars. It's sort of a gestation energy, right? There's something that is happening, that's starting. And it's important to know as well, though, that, you know, people may be asserting themselves around this time in such ways that are not necessarily compatible with their true conversation with their higher self. And this is really important to note because, I mean, people can be, you know, triggered. They can be saying things. They can be kind of acting in ways, behaving in ways, reacting in ways that are echoing more possibly at times the ego, okay, the conversation with, in the space of, also at times impulsivity. And we talked a bit about this yesterday, but it really is a conversation point. When we're talking about Aries, it's kind of hard to imagine that we would talk about Aries and not mention that, you know, that possibility, right? That people, yeah, I mean, and so there can be a very lovely, convincing, exciting energy with the Aries energy, but at the same time, there can be this moment of like, why is that happening in that way? Or why did that person say that one thing? And yeah, it's not really adding up. And so there can at times be a defensive energy with the Aries archetype. And further, given that we have this really strong Pisces energy, it's almost like, you know, how does it all sort of add up? It's sort of this, it's interesting. Let me plug this in though. I want to get the ephemeris up so that we can take a look at that. And I hope you're all doing well. Last night, I wanted to go on to 48 hours on members, but it just so happened that I guess Spirit wanted us going live and talking about this. But we will hopefully again, definitely regroup there and chat about specifically the nuances of the moon. But I just kind of get like this, a little bit of this like, I keep hearing like frenetic, and we came on last night, we were talking about this as well, like sort of like a little bit of a triggered energy, like, you know, where people are like also feeling like, I want to do this, I want to take a step here with the next storyline and in a personal way. But then it's like, you know, people may at this time I'm hearing also be comparing themselves, and it may be that you find sometimes you're like, you know, it reminds me a smidgen of the Libra season we were in, where there was a lot of this energy of like, kind of like looking at where you stand socially, and feeling possibly at times some sort of way about that. So But note that may also be projected energy. People around you may be feeling kind of like, again, Aries is, let's clear, it could be very competitive, very much like, that space of like, how do I assert myself in society, especially with Venus and Mars being Aquarius? We're just going to say, how do I assert myself in society in such a way that is going to be understood, but then also exciting? And sometimes people go to lengths, okay, to make that answer known to them, but before they really understand what it means, and hence the by times the impulsivity of Aries, it's like, I don't know what I want to present, I'll just show up though on stage. It's like, so, but that may be something that is contrary to the space of true assimilation. And I'm hearing again with the higher self, like people, in other words, may be acting kind of, and I'm seeing this within the context of your connection to them, like people can be acting a little bit impulsive, maybe a little insensitive even. So just keep it in mind, like with a strong Aries energy, like people may not always be thinking about, unfortunately, I'm hearing this, but each other. And people, but there's also a plus side to that. We're thinking a lot more about where we're coming from with ourselves, especially physically. But the physical dimension is not always the only thing at play. So, right, and when it comes, but that's where you have to let the person go and understand on their own, what really is their happiness. It's a bit abstract, but you may want to watch this video a few times over if you feel guided, and it may sort of lead to some sort of epiphany. But the important part here is that you're not going to take on how another person is working through their ego. And with Aries Mars, we're really talking about the physical vessel through which you've incarnated in this space. We're talking the rising sign energies. Everyone will be having an activation to that part of the chart naturally with the sun in this placement. But yeah, I get a little bit of like a self-conscious energy here coming through. Everyone's like, all right, like, what's my role? I'm hearing it in this way. I'm really hearing it in this way. Now, I'm looking at the ephemeris. We have a Mars square Uranus here coming through today. Mars is the ruler of Aries. We just stepped in with the sun. Uranus is getting a little bit of a freaky energy spotlight here. With the ruling of Venus and Mars right now, both, given that Venus and Mars, let's clear the energy around. They're both in Aquarius. Something is awkward. Like, you may find that something's a little awkward. Like, it's like, I hear it again, like, why did they say that? Like, why did they say that in that way? It's almost like a little bit, I'm hearing a frenetic energy. This comes down to your partnerships, because really, really Mars is about how one asserts themselves. Uranus ruling Venus and Mars both right now. Venus is about how we get along together. How can we create this together? And tomorrow we have a Mercury conjunct Neptune. This is in addition to the orb that we're still seeing with the influence of Mercury. The sun actually. The sun squaring Uranus, I believe that is. So, let people have their opinions, in other words, let people have their so-called way as they see it with themselves, and don't take it personally what others decide to do, in that space. But there will definitely be some projected energies, just keep it in mind. The egos will be very much sort of awakened here, okay, with a lot of people. And so, do I really want to get into that conversation with her, Hermit? I'm hearing Hermit, okay? Maybe you're dealing with a Virgo, take it as well. We are still in the cast of the full moon in Virgo. So there is still that moment of the so-called moment of the very strong Virgo energy. So especially until the second quarter stage, which is coming up. On the 25th. So, but beyond it, you may even find that you just really sort of see people's true intentions, as it has been all along, though. It's like, I feel like now is the moment where we just sort of like, we wake up. It's like, literally, I mean, we just moved through the whole zodiac, guys. Like, we moved through Neptune, the 12th house, the deepest subconscious, the psyche, the dream state. It's like now with Aries, it's like, whoa, bro, wait, you're actually really like self-centered. It's like, okay, I just saw it, it's something like this. Like, I just realized, like, yeah, this is not going to work, you just maybe going to start really kind of, and it could be with you, like, wow, what did I just sort of, see in myself? What did I see myself do? Interesting. You know, where we maybe have been feeling more through the process, what are we really feeling? And it's a little bit awkward. It's like kind of, again, waking up like, oh shit, I have the proverbial drool like down my cheek. Like, okay, let me kind of just get myself together here. So, but, you know, let's clear. But this is really about your partnerships. This is really about the partnership space because, yeah, it's. I'm hearing you may be finding that it's more important to look at this space from a partnership-centric standpoint, because we do have that Uranus ruling both Venus and Mars, and it is about, right, that give and take. So the question is, where does my ego play a role, and where does this person's ego play a role? How do we both interact, or how does the ego of this community even play a role? But it's important to remain authentic here, of course, yeah, and to remember that everybody has their opinion, and it doesn't tell you where you stand in your own story. Let's go, it does not tell you where you stand in your own story. Aries, again, I'm here, it can be very sort of a little pushy at times, a little bit, you know, people can get a little bullheaded, I'm hearing that, but yeah, and so some of you may actually need to just give a little bit, yeah, of a reality check here to some people. Like, you're not going to be telling me like what my personal story is, what my personal mantra is. Okay, you can have that story for yourself, but it's definitely not something that I'm going to be, yeah, I'm hearing also like adopting anytime soon, talking about anytime soon. I'm getting like a little bit of a pushy energy. I mean, it is natural, but with the, in a way, Mars square Uranus though is going to make it a little bit more obvious, okay, and a little bit more erratic and a little bit more sudden. Like, suddenly I realize Bob is a narcissist. I'm hearing this as well. Oh, take it as you will. This is where we'll be exposing the shadow of Aries. That's the beauty of the zodiac, because, you know, we give these turns to really sort of see where have we been operating in the shadow or not. You know, with every archetype and element. So with this Mars square Uranus, it's really like, let's really look at it. Like, has the ego been playing fairly when it comes to, yeah, and what have been the subversive sort of underhanded tactics that some may have used to feel more, I mean, independent as well, but really, actually, yeah, but yeah, to feel more, how do we say, even self-reliant, but it's almost like a coping mechanism. I'm hearing that for a true desire to connect to others. I'm hearing that as well. So take it as you will, guys. You can take it in so many different ways. But yeah, let's see, in so many different ways how this energy may play out for you. But it does come down to being authentic. And so that doesn't mean though just being independent and asserting yourself as independent and just showing up and sort of, you know, just being on stage. It's like, and it really reminds me of the Taurus reading and the Virgo reading that we have posted for April. So the very interesting message, interestingly, given that, yeah, we do have a very strong focus still on Virgo. I like to look at that full moon energy as a bubble that surrounds the day of the full moon. We're still working with Virgo. We're still working, and we will work with it until the next new moon, until the next full moon. It's always cyclical. So it's important to look back at previous moon cycle points, previous moon cycle stages. Now, some of you though, you will be dealing with people, especially those of you I see who work in like really big companies or however, you're going to be dealing with people who have a very aggressive perspective here. And the question is, what do you do about, you know, what you feel, regardless of where others stand in this space? Let others have their opinion. I'm hearing that again, like let others maybe even have this sort of sense of adrenaline that moves them towards a certain cause. But what does it still stand as for you? This is really the point, that you make a point of, but not necessarily in a triggered way, in a reactive way. With Mars square Uranus, it may be at times kind of challenging. It's like you really want to lash out a little bit. I'm hearing it in this way, just kind of, you know, get a little bit, yeah, I'm hearing tumultuous back with the row of the boat. But this is a moment where, honestly, it may serve you to just sort of reflect and say, why did I not say my truth? I'm hearing that as well when I last spoke to that person. So this is very interesting. I feel like it may be a moment where we're looking at our actions as well until this point, you know, looking back on and saying, you know, maybe this is proverbially, it's like you, why did I sort of like not acknowledge and address, okay, my own story, my consciousness. I'm hearing that as well in the space of where I represent my personal truth and where I stand in this space, in this conversation. Now, some of you, I'm hearing this, like people might criticize you. This is okay. Good for them. Some people want to just have a space, a platform to speak and to say something. It doesn't mean anything about you. That's really important, very important to note. Yeah, it's one of those moments. It reminds me of the Leo full moon reading. Was it the full moon? Yes, it was the full moon. Right. Let's clear it and ground. where it was like, yeah, it was an Astro Chat Live that we were talking about this very concept, in Aries, Leo, both fire energies. Interesting. But yeah, it was a whole moment where it's like, yeah, people make a really big deal out of something, like when they feel like, okay, someone's listening, and then it's like, it's not so much a big deal when they feel like, that person is out of the room. Just don't take things seriously around this time, especially at 0 degrees of the sun in such a young fire sign. There is something that, you have really to gain from holding back. I hear that actually, and reassessing and really taking stock and heed of the things that you understand and not necessarily the things that you observe. So in other words, taking your opinion on, taking the time to formulate your own opinion, very important. People are not going to necessarily be asserting also the whole truth. I'm hearing that. Interesting. Okay. Yes, especially with Mercury here in Pisces, not really necessarily an exalted placement for Mercury, but and close conjuncting Neptune. People don't really know what they're talking about. I'm hearing this. Okay, many people will not know what they're talking about, and it's a lot of show, and it's a lot of, when people feel defensive, when they feel they're under attack, then they just sort of, it's like they just jab back kind of vibe. But it is not necessarily that you were purposely, okay, that you're even threatening that person. So it's about the ego that is lashing out at this moment. People may be reacting with ego, and it's important to recognize that it's not always going to be a conscious space. Of expression. But with Mercury conjunct Neptune, especially because Mercury is about our communicative talents. Now, some of you here, people may be threatened by you, and they don't know how to even process that. It's like, they're not going to come through and say, hey, Molly, like, you know what? I think you're really smart and like you're really intimidating me right now. No, they're going to come through with like, hey, Molly, I have something to tell you. Come right this way with me. I need to meet you in the back office. It's like, it's going to be a very different energy for some of you. And Mercury conjunct Neptune, people may have, all kinds of, emotional so-called weaponry that they pull out with you when they are feeling threatened. In other words, it can be that people are getting maybe at times a bit manipulative emotionally. They may, they may try to sort of like, underhandedly sort of, but they don't even realize that that's happening with Mercury conjunct Neptune. Yeah, it's more kind of, you kind of are not in the very clear thinking space of how can I directly address what I'm feeling, okay, and what I'm feeling that I'm feeling. Interesting. Yeah, because it's like, well, there's the ego and what the ego feels, and then there is the subconscious. So where are people, it's clear, where they're able to really unfold, okay, and pull the petals back, okay, to the onion of the consciousness, and how they're letting that energy really reflect, and to I'm hearing actually interpret the shadow in this dimension. Not everybody will necessarily be on the same page or be up to par with that. Let's clear, so to speak. Some people will be very triggered, guys. I just keep getting this energy. So let's clear, because they feel they haven't maybe done the shadow work necessary, and they're looking at the way that you've moved through. Obviously, this is most likely if you're tuning in here. This is you're most likely associated as a light worker, but always take it as you will. We do have all kinds of frequencies here who tune in. YouTube is open, right, to the so-called masses. But and given that during these times you've been ascending and doing a lot of shadow work, so you're in a totally different field here than you were, let's say, years ago. I'm hearing that people will be sort of realizing that, picking up on that, and people who do still hold a very strong sense of shadow, okay, who are still needing the protection of the ego, are going to be triggered by you. Let's move forward. But it's just energy, because they feel your vibration, and it feels sort of like there's this tense energy. Now, for some of you, people will be coming through. For some of you, again, with Mercury conjunct Neptune, you can be finding all kinds of people in the woodwork coming through, wanting favors from you. I'm hearing that specifically, like somehow wanting to be in your world, wanting to be around you. Just be aware of that. Yeah, It's like, I see people sort of and not because they necessarily are trying to do so, but they're just sort of like acting from this like subconscious lull, sort of dreamy, sort of hazy energy. Because again, even though we still have the Aries energy at play with the sun, we still have a lot of Pisces, and we'll have a lot of Pisces really through the next months, okay, with Jupiter hovering in Pisces, with Neptune in Pisces for a bit of time, and Mercury and still in Pisces. So it's an intense moment a bit, guys, because of this energy. It's almost like there's this friction, okay, Pisces and Aries are just one sign from one another in the zodiac. Now, some of you, you're triggering people's egos. I hear that again. You may not even realize it though. Okay, and you may not understand like the reasons for why. It's like, I don't know why Bob would have a problem with like me getting an A on my test. For some of you, maybe Bob is sexist. I'm hearing that. He's looking at the fact that you're a woman and that you're really, really intelligent, and that you're doing what you need to do in the public limelight. And he feels like you're about to take his job over. I'm hearing it like in this way. Yeah, well, he needs to step down. I'm hearing that. Yeah, we don't have time for Bob from that perspective and vantage point. From the vantage point of saying, don't let that become your issue. Don't let Bob's insecurities become your issue. You continue doing what you need to do in the workplace. You continue doing what you need to do. And if you feel like someone's acting sideways with you, acting a little bit strange with you, giving a little bit of attitude, okay? And I'm not talking that Bob is necessarily, I mean, we could say the same thing for feminist energy, right? I mean, what is gender, right? Anyone can take on a masculine toxicity energy. So that's really important to note. Like, whoever, we're saying proverbially Bob. But this just happened. I mean, yeah, definitely with gender roles, so-called, in the workplace. So it's just something to be aware of. Like, let's clear the throat. Yeah, it's like, I don't need to take on Bob's, like, whiplash that he's having, okay, that whole moment that he's having with the fact that I am a strong female energy, okay? Yeah, and so this is not my problem, and I'm going to continue on my way, right? So you choose to interpret the way people choose to interpret your story, and so you're in the power seat with that. There's nothing that, what Bob projects or Bob presents or Bob asserts, okay, it really has to say about you. It says a lot though about Bob's fears and his shadow and what work he's doing on that path to really addressing his insecurities. Again, Bob is a metaphor for those who are like, well, what's gender? Yeah, exactly, what's gender? So it's not about, this is a metaphor. Mercury conjunct Neptune though also will make people kind of like have this way about them, when we're talking about shadow, where they kind of are like wanting to like address their own fear, but then they do it indirectly. And this is really, really something to talk about, because especially given that Neptune's in Pisces, and given that Mercury is in Pisces as well, it's this moment of like wanting to kind of conceal, wanting to kind of like, how do we say, protect, okay? Yeah, the fear and the shadow. That is the shadow though of this conjunction. But of course, Mercury conjunct Neptune, amazing for creative. Yeah, let's go. The higher spectrum is just, I mean, if you're a poet, okay, if you have any creative work, your mind is probably, you're just on fire with your creative visionary energies. Very exciting. So, yeah, guys, let's go down my, no, but, partly this is so triggering, this Mercury conjunct Neptune, because we have as well a simultaneous nodal contact with Mercury, and that is just hours preceding that conjunction with Neptune. Mercury sextiling the node of the north node, Mercury trining the south node, 7:36 p.m. This is going to be tomorrow, March 23rd. For some of you, you are triggering all kinds of, I'm not going to say people anymore, I'm going to say frequencies, because everyone can take on a certain frequency, right? Yeah, I mean, you can meet a so-called woman who is actually sexist. I'm hearing this. Take it as you will, guys. This is coming through. This is a channel message, by the way. This is not a cultural dissertation space. Just as a side note, we're really not talking about, this is not a thesis. It's not like Natalie has gone and opened the book of anthropology and gender norms, and she's doing the research, no. This is a channeled energy space. And this applies, across the board. And it's not about, don't get personal with me on these messages. This is me channeling here, and if you're feeling some kind of way about that, then maybe this is not the channel for you, and maybe you should step back, because I'm not changing the message to suit anybody's ego here in the room, and take it as you will. But let's clear it on the back. Mercury sextile north node. Mercury, people can take on frequencies. The frequency of, let's say, and so you can find a woman who is in so many different ways possibly. Okay, taking on the frequency of a toxic masculine energy. So it's important to realize, and they don't even know, maybe they grew up in a household where, however it is. So just kind of understand that, it's like people are maybe perpetuating certain mantras and concepts. It's not your problem. It's not for you to figure out. It's not for you to define. It's not for you to say, hey, you know what, it's wrong or it's right necessarily. I mean, you can if you like. People may feel, you know, a bit triggered here again to communicate with the Mercury sextile North Node, and it may be that you have some sort of way of addressing finally, or you seeing finally what's really at play. Like, okay, I realize I'm even seeing, like, take it as you will, nothing is too crazy, right? When we're talking about energy, it's like I'm seeing someone's like my female boss, my so-called, she's a woman and she's being sexist towards women. I'm hearing that. This is something strange, I don't know, maybe to some people. Let's clear it in the sacral chakra. So, you know, and so, I don't know, take it as you will. Like, absolutely though, because women can also perpetuate certain energies, absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, everybody can. It's really not about gender, guys. It's about the frequency, right? So I mean, who knows? Maybe she, you know, has also been raised in an environment where that's like, you don't even realize that you're taking on that energy, you know? So you may find, like, maybe you're meeting people, it's like, wow, you're not going to challenge that. The fact that, like, you know, it's like, no, that's like what I was told. I'm hearing that. I don't know what that's alluding to. Okay. Maybe for some of you, you're having like a moment with your boss. I'm hearing this so strongly. It's like where people have had a programmed consciousness. I'm hearing specifically around gender norms for whatever reason. And we have the moon, by the way, in Sagittarius here today, which is bringing the oomph even stronger here forth. Yeah, it's like, but it's like you want to kind of like, I feel for some of you want to like kind of smack like your coworkers. Like, you don't realize that you're kind of perpetuating this whole like, yeah, I'm hearing like, oh, she's supposed to do this and he's supposed to do that. It's like, maybe it's like weird. Yeah, I know I'm getting this really strongly. Like, where even like you have a coworker, this is just what I'm hearing. Maybe even a so-called manager, even as someone in the power seat, so-called, or however so-called, you know, saying, oh yeah, like the man should be doing the PowerPoint and the woman should be holding the papers. It's like, what? No. This is what I'm hearing for some of you. But I see that as like a woman saying that. So I just don't know, guys. And for everybody, literally how this may play out. But just be aware, like, it's interesting because Mars is the ruler of the masculine archetype and Venus is the ruler of that which is feminine. So with those both in Aquarius, we're sort of like needing to think a little bit outside of the box here, like, and especially with a Mars square Uranus, like, why are we not questioning this? Why are we just going along with that? You know, kind of thing. So, but yeah, and what is so called to get, yet again, power, or a position of power, really, right? I mean, we can say the same thing about age. Okay, it's really about wisdom, right? I mean, you can have someone who is 45 years old and you can have someone who's 4 years old, and the 4-year-old is definitely having something to teach to the 45-year-old. But it can also be, yeah, or however, but it can also be in the workplace, like someone who's technically the CEO. It's like, yeah, and so they may be threatened. Just side note, guys. And genders may be a metaphor. Maybe it's just, yeah, it's like you're able to see something from a certain perspective. Like you have maybe, you know, maybe you're a masculine, but you have integrated your divine feminine, and you have somebody in the so-called power seat at your work who's like not able to really integrate their divine feminine energy, and they're feeling very triggered by that. And it could be a woman. I hear that as well. Wow, this is very interesting. Please comment, guys. I'm quite curious here. Let's clear it. I'm literally seeing that. I'm seeing an empowered masculine who has divine feminine energies very strongly in their chart naturally, and it's almost like you've been placed purposely in this company. I mean, this is such a specific message. I feel like I'm speaking to someone very specific here, but take it as you will. Like, you're going to be triggering, like, I'm hearing too specifically, like, certain feminine archetypes. And so, and it's kind of interesting, yeah, because you're kind of like, you're causing friction with the way that they have, you know, sort of created a mentality around that conversation. For some of you, though, I'm seeing, like, again, a very strong masculine archetype. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps as well. A very strong masculine archetype who has really, really grounded their divine feminine energies. And they are in a workspace where someone technically is, like, the leader or whatever. It's like a feminine energy, but she is not really incorporating her divine essence truly. She's being triggered by his divine feminine. You see it? Ooh. Very interesting. Please comment. Who is this? Let's clear it down the back. Very interesting. So this is getting very cool. Yeah, no, these are the changes that need to be made. Like, I'm sorry, like, what are you thinking here? Yeah, I'm hearing that. Okay, yeah, it's like, it doesn't mean that you're not a strong feminine just because you are also protecting the toxic masculine energies. Yeah, we see you. This is for some. This is for some, so this is gonna have to be called out. Like, this is, well, yeah, and I feel people will sort of look at it very clearly and be like, yeah, that's embarrassing. Like, why did I kind of also permit myself? But then they won't necessarily admit that. It'll take time for them to really understand. This is going to take time, maybe years of energy for some hearing, but yeah, like even but really during this period, I'm seeing this, yeah. So now, interesting. Let's clear it in the throat chakra. Let's clear it. So some people may just like start getting very strange in the workplace. I don't know why I'm seeing it in the workplace, but yeah, it's like they're acting like suddenly like very like tie on with you. It's like, what are you saying? We just had like a conversation about a new proposal. Like, yeah, but this person's getting all up in their head, guys. I'm hearing it. This is someone's very particular message. They're getting very up in their head, but it's for a different reason. It's like, you know, those moments where someone starts behaving like their behavior's changing. Yeah, but it's like all you talked about was, yeah, but it's because of another conversation. Now you're triggering them. Hell yeah, you're triggering them. You're triggering them not just in terms of whatever that proposal, that project is. You're triggering them because on Monday they got to show up and they got to think about how they're going to be representing themselves. It's not the work. I'm hearing that it's themselves. So yeah, it's more personal. Really, are we talking about just the work at work? Yeah, these are still contracts. So let's go. I feel like somebody here possibly even works in the government and politics. I feel a very, very sort of interesting dynamic here, guys. Like, really very interesting. Like, I feel like someone here is going to and they may threaten to like even like take your position down. I don't know what that's about, guys. I'm sorry, like, what? Yeah, but it's like, but they're making an excuse about another reason other than that which really is at play. Like, they have a personal sort of, yeah, trigger point there. It's like, excuse me, like, no, I'm seeing this with a woman and a man, supposedly a woman and supposedly a man. Nah. So yeah, but yeah, guys, please let me know, like, over time, okay, how this, yeah, but this is going to have a hover orb for a bit of time now. Yeah, Mercury here with the nodes. Let's take a look. I'm hearing Chandra. It's like someone starts behaving strangely, like they're flipping through a PowerPoint real quickly. It's like, yeah, no. What are you doing back there? I'm hearing that. Yeah, this is someone who's feeling insecure. It's like, it's a moment even you know you made a mistake. It's like you don't want to say it. It's like, just say it. Ew, I'm so sorry. It's like they're saving face for ego, but they're not even like really, yeah, but they made a mistake on the platform. I'm saying it's like, but this is someone on their own team with someone. It's so weird, guys. I'm getting this vision of like, even like, it's like, well, there's a name for this. Is it Oedipus? Hold on. Wait, it's like when someone, it's like they kind of take they want to like engulf their own co-pilot. It's so, well, I don't know what this is. Strange. Hold on. Oedipus. This came through another reading. But it was about someone's mother. Someone is like engulfing someone, but because they feel like they're too powerful. Yeah, guys. But I'm seeing it with a feminine, with a male, supposedly. So yeah, just be aware, like, of framing as well. But not, I don't see this as like strategic. I see it more as like impulsive, where people are like, oh my god, he's making me look bad. It's like something like that. It's like, step back, step down. I don't think that they actually know it, though, that they're doing that, like, you know, it's not with intention. So guys, let me know how this plays out, and we're gonna get into members, talk more about this. Definitely, you know, keep into your quarters. I'm hearing that. Keep into your space. Keep into your story, and keep clearing, grounding your aura, and you know, remember that you are always the beholder of your personal truth. We'll see you in the next